Have you ever noticed that the moment you stop trying, they suddenly start chasing? That the second you pull away, they begin to see your worth? This isn't luck. It isn't a coincidence. It's human nature. The harder something is to obtain, the more valuable it becomes. And that is exactly why they need to learn this lesson, the hard way. You see, people don't cherish what they think they'll never lose. When you are always there, always reaching out, always proving yourself, you become predictable, comfortable, taken for granted. The moment you stop explaining, stop proving, stop waiting, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, what was once ignored becomes impossible to forget. The philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." That's where your power begins. You cannot control their actions, their feelings, or their choices, but you can control your own. The moment you step back, the moment you stop seeking validation, the moment you detach from the need to be chosen, you take away the very thing that made them comfortable. They were never afraid of losing you because you made it too easy for them to keep you. But that changes today. Think of a fire. A flame does not beg for oxygen. It burns. Fierce, powerful, undeniable. It does not chase the wind. It does not ask to be kept alive. It simply exists in its full force. But what happens when the air pulls away? The fire flickers. It struggles. It gasps for what it once had effortlessly. That is exactly what happens when you stop chasing them. They become the fire. They feel the shift. They feel the absence of your warmth. And suddenly, what they once dismissed becomes the only thing they can think about. You have given enough. You have reached out. You have sent the messages, made the effort, stayed up late replaying their words, trying to decode what they meant. You have hoped, waited, convinced yourself that if you just loved them harder, they would finally see your worth. But they didn't. They assumed you would always be there, always reaching, always proving. And that is why this lesson is necessary. Nothing wakes a person up like the silence of the one they thought would never walk away. At first, they won't believe it. They'll think you're just being dramatic, that you'll give in like you always do. They will wait for your message, expect you to return like you always have. But then, the silence stretches. The calls don't come. The certainty they once had begins to crack. And that's when the lesson begins. They will start wondering. They will start searching. They will start realizing that what they assumed would always be theirs is slipping away. And by the time they fully understand, by the time they feel the weight of your absence, you will already be gone. But here's the truth, the hardest truth of all. This is not about them. This is about you. This is about choosing yourself, about reclaiming the power you have given away for far too long. You are not just another person waiting for a text, hoping for a chance, proving your worth to someone who should have seen it from the start. You are more. And the moment you start living in that truth, the moment you stop making yourself so easy to take for granted, everything changes. A king does not beg. A queen does not chase. Power does not plead to be seen. It simply exists. And only those who are worthy have the privilege to step into its presence. A person who truly values you will not need to lose you to understand your worth. They will cherish you in your presence, not just in your absence. So let them feel it. Let them wonder. Let them sit in the silence they created. And if they are meant for you, if they are worthy of you, they will rise to meet you. But if they do not, then they were never meant for someone like you. And that is the most powerful lesson of all. Write this in the comments and claim your power. I do not chase, I attract. I am the prize. Let the world know that you are done waiting, done proving, done hoping for someone to see what they should have known all along. If this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of the strength that has always been inside you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We pour our energy, time, and passion into creating content that empowers, uplifts, and transforms. Your support means everything, and together we are building a community of people who know their worth, stand in their power, and never settle for less than they deserve. Stay with us, because your reign has only just begun. Number 1. When you stop feeding them, they feel the starvation. Have you ever noticed that the more you give, the less they appreciate it? The more you pour into them, the more they take it for granted. It's like a never-ending feast, where they've grown so full, they no longer taste the food. But what happens when the table is no longer set? When the endless flow of love, effort, and attention dries up? Suddenly, they feel it. They feel the starvation. And that is when everything shifts. Seneca once said, "He who indulges himself too much will grow weak." That is exactly what happened here. They never feared losing you because you made it too easy for them to have you. You were always there, texting first, checking in, making sure they were okay, holding everything together while they barely lifted a finger. And the more you did, the less they valued it. Because comfort breeds complacency. They never had to fight for your love, so they never truly cherished it. But now, the feast is over, the table is empty, the river runs dry, and they must face a harsh truth. They were never entitled to your love, and without it, they are left starving for what they once took for granted. Think of a lush garden thriving under the care of a devoted gardener. Every day the gardener waters it, nurtures it, tends to every leaf and petal. The plants grow effortlessly, basking in the attention. But what happens when the gardener walks away? The flowers that once bloomed so easily begin to wilt. The leaves that once stretched toward the sun begin to curl. The earth cracks, desperate for the touch of rain. That is exactly what they will feel when you stop giving them everything without question. At first, they won't understand. They'll assume you're just busy. They'll wait for your usual message, expect you to check in like always. But when the hours turn to days, when the silence stretches longer than they expected, the weight of it will start to settle. They will check their phone more often, replay old conversations, wonder why your name hasn't appeared like it always does. And then the realization will hit. They will feel the absence, the emptiness, the hunger for the presence they once dismissed. That's when the chase begins, because people don't appreciate what is always available. They appreciate what they have to earn. Some might ask, but isn't love supposed to be freely given? Yes, but love is not a sacrifice. Love is not meant to drain you while the other person simply receives. There is a difference between giving love and being used. Love should never be one-sided. Effort should never be a burden carried by just one person. If you are always the one watering while they sit back and enjoy the shade, then something is wrong. And now, it is time for them to wake up. This is not about playing games. This is not about manipulation. This is about balance. They need to feel the emptiness that only your presence could fill. They need to realize that love, real love, is something they must cherish, not something they can just expect. And that is where everything shifts. This is where you step into your power. You are not someone who begs for attention, who overgives, who waits endlessly for someone to see what should have been obvious from the start. You are more. You are the prize. You are the source. And someone who truly values you will never put you in a position where you have to teach them your worth. But if they do, then this lesson is necessary. Let them feel it. Let them wonder. Let them chase. It's time to stop feeding what refuses to grow. It's time to take back your energy, to reclaim your power, to remind yourself that you were never meant to beg for love. The moment you stop giving them what they took for granted is the moment they will realize they needed it all along. And by then, the question will no longer be whether they want you back. The real question will be, do they even deserve another chance? Number 2, they won't miss the sun until the darkness falls. Have you ever noticed how people only seem to appreciate something once it's gone? When you were always there, texting first, waiting for replies, showing up no matter what, they barely noticed. But the moment you pull back, the second your presence fades, everything shifts. Suddenly, they start searching. They start wondering. They start realizing that what they once ignored is slipping through their fingers. That's how it works. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A person's worth is no greater than their ambitions." And here's the truth. If they never had to work for you, they never had to fear losing you. You gave them comfort, certainty, security. They never had to question where they stood because you always made it clear. They didn't have to chase you because you made yourself easy to catch. But what happens when you stop? What happens when the warmth of your presence turns into the cold of your absence? That is when they finally understand. That is when they feel the lesson that words could never teach. Think of the sun. Every single day it rises, bringing light, warmth, and life to everything it touches. And yet, no one stops in the middle of the day to appreciate it. No one looks up and thinks about how lucky they are to have its warmth. But on the rare days when the sky turns dark, when the sun disappears, that's when people notice. That's when they realize just how much they took for granted. And you were that sun. You were shining too bright, too constant, too available. They never had to question your presence because you never let them. But now you let them feel the night. You have given enough. You have explained, proven, waited. And what did it bring you? Overthinking, sleepless nights, a love that felt one-sided, but not anymore. The moment you step back, the moment you stop making yourself an option, they will feel the shift. They will check their phone, expecting your name. They will wonder why the good morning messages stopped. They will replay old conversations, searching for signs of when everything changed. And that realization, it will haunt them. Because here's the truth. They never feared losing you. They never thought they had to. And that is exactly why this lesson is necessary. Some might ask, but isn't love about giving? About being there no matter what? Yes, but love is not about losing yourself. Love is not about proving your worth over and over to someone who refuses to see it. Love is not supposed to feel like a test you have to pass. If someone can only see your value in your absence, then maybe they never truly valued you at all. You are not an afterthought. You are not an option. And if they could not see your worth while you were there, they will be forced to see it when you are gone. But let's be clear. This is not about playing games. This is not about manipulation. This is about self-respect. This is about reclaiming your power. You are done waiting for attention, done proving your worth, done chasing someone who never had to chase you, because power does not beg. A throne does not move to make space for someone who doesn't deserve it. A kingdom does not crumble simply because someone walked away. A queen does not beg for a seat at the table. She walks away and builds her own. And if they are worthy, if they are truly meant for you, they will rise. They will chase. They will prove themselves, because when you finally understand your own value, they will have no choice but to do the same. Let them feel it. Let them wonder. Let them sit in the silence where your love used to be. And by the time they realize what they lost, you will already be too far ahead, too powerful, too untouchable. And that is a lesson they will never forget. Number 3. Empty hands always reach for what they lost. Have you ever seen someone hold something precious without realizing its worth until it's gone? They held you in their hands, careless, distracted, unbothered. They assumed you would always be there, always giving, always reaching. But now, those hands are empty. And now, those empty hands will tremble for you. Seneca once said, "A gift loses its value when it is too easily given." That is the lesson they are about to learn. They thought your love, your presence, your effort were endless, like air, always there, always waiting, always ready. They never stopped to think what would happen if you walked away. But you did. And now the silence is louder than any words. The emptiness is heavier than they ever imagined. Think of a child holding a bird in their hands. At first, they don't understand what they have. They grip too tightly, not realizing they are pushing it away. And when the bird finally flies, they panic. Their hands, once full of life, are now nothing but empty space. They reach, they chase, but it's too late. That is exactly what happens when you step back. They never truly noticed your warmth until it was gone. And now their hands will tremble for what they once held so carelessly. You gave them every chance. You explained, you forgave, you stayed longer than you should have. You hoped they would wake up, that they would see you, that they would fight for you the way you fought for them. But they didn't. They kept taking, kept assuming, kept expecting you to always be there. But nothing lasts forever. Not even patience, not even love. And when you finally let go, when you finally choose yourself over waiting, that's when everything shifts. At first, they won't believe it. They will assume it's just another game, that you will come back like you always do. They will wait, thinking you will reach out, thinking they still have time. But then the silence stretches. The calls don't come. The certainty they once had begins to crack. And that is when they feel it. That is when they realize that what they once took for granted is no longer theirs to reach. Suddenly, the throne they ignored has become the only thing they want to claim. But here's the most important part. This is not about making them chase you just to prove a point. This is not about playing games or seeking revenge. This is about making yourself so powerful that they no longer hold the power to break you. You are not waiting for them to return. You're not sitting in silence, hoping they wake up. You're rising. You're stepping into the life that was always meant for you. And whether they come back or not, that is no longer your concern. Because power does not wait for recognition. Strength does not beg to be seen. A crown does not adjust itself to fit someone who failed to respect it the first time. So let them wonder. Let them feel the emptiness. Let them sit in the silence where your voice used to be. And when they reach for you again, when they try to pull you back, the question will no longer be whether they want you. It will be whether they still deserve you. Number 4. They only notice the door once it's locked. Have you ever noticed how people only appreciate a door once it's locked? When it was wide open, easy to walk through, no one thought twice about it. But the moment it closes, the second it's no longer available, that's when it suddenly becomes valuable. That's when people start knocking, waiting, wishing they had treated it differently. And that is exactly why a locked door is always worth more. If they never feared losing you, they never truly valued you. If they always knew you would be there, waiting, reaching, proving, why would they feel urgency? Why would they fight for something they never thought they could lose? They won't, because in their mind, the door is always open. They walk in and out of your life as they please, knowing you will always be there to let them back in. But the second you shut that door, the moment you decide that your love is not an open invitation, everything shifts. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A person's worth is no greater than their ambitions." And here's the truth. If they don't have to work for you, if they don't have to prove themselves, they will never cherish what they have. The harder something is to attain, the more valuable it becomes. That's why luxury cars, rare diamonds and masterpieces are not handed out for free. They are sought after, they are earned, and so are you. Think of a velvet rope outside an exclusive event. The people who can walk in without effort don't see its value. They take it for granted. But the ones standing outside, the ones who know they can't just walk in whenever they please, they crave it. They long for it. They wonder what it would be like to be inside. That is exactly how they will feel when you finally step back and show them that you are not an open door. Your love is an exclusive space. Only the worthy get to enter. You have spent too long making things easy, giving your time, your love, your energy, without stopping to ask if it was truly being valued. And where did that leave you? Wondering, overthinking, asking yourself why they don't see what you bring to the table. But the real question is, why did you make it so easy for them to sit there without earning their place? It's time to change the rules. It's time to close the door. At first they won't understand. They will knock, expecting you to answer. They will assume you're just playing a game, that you will go back to being the person who always gave, who always tried, who always made excuses for their lack of effort. But when the silence stretches, when the door stays shut, that is when the lesson begins. They will start wondering. They will start doubting themselves. They will feel the absence of the love they once took for granted. And when they realize that the easy access they once had is no longer there, that's when they start chasing. But let's be clear, this is not about playing games. This is not about making them run in circles just to prove a point. This is about knowing your worth. This is about understanding that your love is a privilege, not a consolation prize. You do not beg to be valued. You do not stand in the doorway, hoping they choose you. You step back, you lock the door, and you let them prove they are worthy enough to be invited in. Because power does not wait in the hallway of uncertainty. Strength does not leave the door open for someone who was never sure about stepping through. A person who truly values you will rise to meet you. They will knock with intention, with effort, with the understanding that they must earn what they once took for granted. So let them feel the distance. Let them realize that you are not someone who waits forever. Let them sit outside that locked door and wonder if they will ever be allowed back in. And by the time they finally understand, by the time they realize what they lost, you will already be living the life you were always meant to have, one where you are no longer an option, but the prize. Number 5. A throne never moves. It's claimed. Have you ever seen a throne chase after a ruler? Have you ever seen a crown lower itself to fit the head of someone who hasn't earned it? A throne stands tall, unshaken, untouched, waiting for the one worthy enough to claim it. And yet, here you are, lowering yourself, waiting, hoping, giving endless chances to someone who doesn't even realize the value of what stands before them. But that ends today. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A person's worth is no greater than their ambitions." And that is a truth many fail to understand. People only value what they have to earn. If they don't feel the need to chase you, to fight for you, to prove themselves, then why would they? Why would they respect what was handed to them so easily? They were not blind. They simply never feared losing you. But once you stop handing them your time, your energy, your love on a silver platter, everything changes. Because a throne never moves. It only waits for the one who dares to kneel. Think of the rarest diamond locked away in a vault. Many admire it, but only the worthy can claim it. Now, imagine that same diamond tossed into the streets, free for anyone to pick up. What happens? It loses its value, not because it is any less rare, but because it is too easy to take. That is exactly what happens when you chase, when you beg, when you make yourself too available. You are still priceless, but they don't see it because they never had to earn it. But the moment you lock yourself away, the moment you stop making yourself easy to reach, they will realize what they have lost. And by the time they finally understand, you will have already stepped into your power. You have spent nights overthinking, wondering why they pull away when you give them everything. You have questioned yourself, wondering if you were too much, if you loved too hard, if you should have done less. But here's the truth. You were never too much. You simply gave too much to someone who did too little. And now it's time to take it all back. They thought you would always be there, waiting, hoping. But now you are done. Now you are the throne, not the one who begs to be chosen. At first, they won't believe it. They will assume this is just another game, that you will come back like you always do. They will wait, thinking you will reach out, thinking they still have time. But then, the silence stretches. The calls don't come. The certainty they once had begins to crack, and that is when they feel it. That is when they realize that what they once took for granted is no longer theirs to reach. Suddenly, the throne they ignored has become the only thing they want to claim. But here's the most important part. This is not about making them chase you just to prove a point. This is not about playing games. This is about stepping into your power so fully that they no longer hold the power to break you. You are not waiting for them to return. You are not sitting in silence, hoping they wake up. You are rising. You are stepping into the life that was always meant for you, and whether they come back or not, that is no longer your concern, because power does not wait for recognition. Strength does not beg to be seen. A crown does not adjust itself to fit someone who failed to respect it the first time. So let them wonder. Let them feel the emptiness. Let them sit in the silence where your presence used to be. If they are meant for you, they will return. Not because you begged, but because they finally understand that someone like you is not replaceable. But by then, the question will no longer be whether they want you. It will be whether they still deserve you. Number 6. They were too comfortable. Now they'll crave what they lost. Have you ever noticed how the moment you stop giving, they suddenly start wanting? How they only realize your worth when you finally walk away? It's not love, it's comfort. They were too used to you being there, too sure of your presence, too confident that no matter what, you would always be an option. And that is exactly why they took you for granted. But now, everything changes. Because when comfort breeds ignorance, absence brings craving. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." And that is what they're about to learn, the hard way. They didn't appreciate you when you were close. So now they will feel the weight of your absence. Your silence will be louder than all the words you ever spoke. Your distance will teach them what your devotion never could. You were never supposed to be their safety net. You were never meant to be taken for granted. And the second you step back, they will feel the shift. Think of the air they breathe. Every second, they take it in, never stopping to appreciate it, never thinking about what life would be like without it. But the moment that air is gone, the second it's taken away, they gasp, they struggle, they panic. They realize too late just how much they needed it. That is what happens when you remove yourself. They won't notice while you're there. They won't care while you're available. But the moment you walk away, the moment your energy is no longer feeding them, they will crave what they once ignored. And this time, they won't be able to get it so easily. You spent so much time giving. You gave your love, your patience, your energy. You forgave. You waited. You tried to make them see your worth. But they didn't. Not because you weren't enough, but because they were too comfortable. They assumed you would always be there, always reaching, always proving. And that is exactly why you must stop. Not to punish them, not to manipulate them, but to reclaim yourself. Because a person will never cherish what they do not have to fight for. At first, they won't believe it. They will assume this is just another test, that you will come back like you always do. They will wait for your message, expect your attention, assume that no matter how much they ignored you, you would still be there. But then, the silence stretches. The space between you grows wider, and suddenly, they begin to realize that they lost something rare. What they took for granted, what they assumed they could always return to, is now beyond their reach. And that fear, that regret, it will haunt them. Some might ask, but isn't love about patience, about standing by someone, no matter what? Love is about mutual effort. Love is about respect. Love is about being valued, not just when you're leaving, but while you're still there. If someone only realizes your worth when they are at risk of losing you, then they never truly saw it to begin with. You deserve more than waiting by the phone, analyzing their mixed signals. You deserve more than wondering if you should have done less, just so they would have appreciated you more. You deserve more than trying to be good enough for someone who should have never made you question yourself in the first place. A queen does not lower her crown to be seen. She stands tall, unshaken, knowing that the right person will recognize her worth without needing to be reminded. You are not here to be an option. You are the diamond, rare, radiant, and priceless. And the moment you truly believe that, the moment you stop settling for anything less, you will never again beg to be chosen, because the right one will see you, and the wrong one, they will simply be left behind. Let them wonder, let them miss you, let them feel the loss of what they thought would always be theirs. And by the time they finally understand, by the time they are ready to chase you, you will have already stepped into the life you were always meant to live. 7. A diamond never begs. It's recognized. Have you ever seen a diamond beg to be chosen? Have you ever seen it dim its shine, desperate to be held in hands that do not know its worth? A diamond simply exists, rare, valuable, and untouchable, waiting for the one wise enough to see its brilliance. But here you are, shrinking yourself, waiting for them to finally notice what has been in front of them all along. They take you for granted, assuming you will always be there, always reaching, always proving, always waiting. And that is exactly why everything must change. Because you are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are not an option. You are the prize. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." Think about that. The pain of being ignored, overlooked, or undervalued only has power if you accept it. But the moment you decide that you are enough, the moment you stop chasing, stop proving, stop waiting, that pain loses its grip. Because a diamond does not ask to be seen, it does not beg to be wanted, it simply is. And if they cannot recognize your worth, then they were never meant to have you in the first place. Imagine a rare jewel locked away in a vault. It sits untouched, unseen, waiting for the one who understands its true value. The wrong hands may pass by, glance at it, and walk away, unaware of what they just left behind, but the right one, the one who truly sees, will do whatever it takes to claim it. And that is exactly how you must carry yourself. If they do not cherish you now, if they do not fight for you, if they do not recognize your value, let them walk away, because their blindness to your worth does not make you any less priceless. You have already given enough. You have poured out your love, your time, your energy. You've stayed up at night wondering what you did wrong, questioning if you were enough. But here's the truth. You were never the problem. You were always enough. The real issue is that they never had to earn you. They never had to work for your love. And what comes too easily is never truly valued. But that ends now. You will no longer beg for love, for attention, for validation. You will no longer wait for someone to wake up and see what they should have known from the start. At first, they will not understand. They will assume this is just another game, that you will come back like you always do. They will wait for your message, expect your attention, assume that no matter how much they ignored you, you would still be there. But then, the silence stretches. The space between you grows wider, and suddenly they begin to realize they lost something rare. What they took for granted, what they assumed they could always return to, is now beyond their reach. And that fear, that regret, it will haunt them. But here's the thing. By the time they finally understand, you will have already stepped into the life you were always meant to live. Number 8. They slept in comfort. Now let them feel the storm. They slept in peace because they thought they would never lose you. They rested easy, knowing you were always there, always waiting, always reaching, always proving. While you lay awake, overthinking their words, analyzing their silence, wondering what more you could do, they closed their eyes, untouched by the storm they created in your heart. But now the storm is no longer inside you. Now the storm is coming for them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A person's worth is no greater than the worth of their ambitions." And that is exactly why they never truly valued you, because they never had to work for you. They were comfortable. They were certain. They believed that no matter how little effort they put in, no matter how many times they ignored your worth, you would still be there. But the moment you walk away, the moment you stop giving, stop chasing, stop proving, that is the moment their peace turns into restlessness. Think of the sky before a storm. At first, everything is calm, still, almost deceivingly peaceful. They see no reason to worry, no reason to change. But then, the wind shifts. The air thickens. The first distant rumble of thunder rolls across the horizon, and suddenly, the peace they took for granted is gone. The storm is coming, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. That is exactly what happens when you pull away, when you stop texting first, when you stop waiting for their attention, when you stop feeding their ego. They won't see it coming until it's too late. At first, they won't take it seriously. They will assume this is just a phase, that you will eventually come back, that this is just another moment of frustration. But then, the silence stretches. The space grows wider, and suddenly The world they once controlled no longer feels so certain. Their mind will race. They will wonder what you're thinking, who you're with, if you've moved on. The same person who once ignored your worth will now feel the weight of your absence pressing down on them like a storm they never prepared for. Some might ask, but isn't it cruel to make them feel this way? This is not about revenge. This is not about making them suffer. This is about balance. They slept peacefully because you carried all the weight. You lived in uncertainty so that they could rest in comfort. But that time is over. You are no longer the person who sits in the dark, waiting for love that should have been given freely. You are the storm, the force of nature, the undeniable power that should have never been taken for granted. You have already spent too many nights questioning your worth, too many days wondering if they would ever wake up and see you. But now, the only person who needs to see your worth is you. Look in the mirror. The person staring back at you is not broken. They are reborn, stronger, wiser, untouchable. They will chase, they will question, they will try to pull you back into the cycle. But this time, the choice is yours. Power does not beg to be recognized. A throne does not move for someone who failed to see it the first time. And a person who truly values you will never risk losing you. So let them feel it. Let them sit in the storm of their own making. Let them understand, too late, that what they once took for granted is now what they can never reach again.